Slow internet, old cars, strong coffee, cheap rum, and music drifting down each alley, shaping the city the way the waves shape the sand. This is Cuba. There are many things that will grab your attention when you first arrive in Old Havana. From the street art, to the music that seems to be drifting out of every cafe and every home, to the colors, to the voices, to the sounds, to the smells. But there's one thing more than any other that caught my attention. And it's this dog, sitting behind me in the center of San Ignacio Street. He's been there for, I want to say, all of the 5 days I've been in Havana so far. In fact, for a while he was wearing that outfit. I guess that's his shirt. Someone has hung it up with a hanger. Soy de Canadá. Sí, canadiense. Mi pregunta es ¿por qué los perros todos los días en la calle como este? I don't know if I was filming properly through that, but as I was going up to show the dog, the woman on the side of the street started telling me, you know, you need to give $1 if you want to take a photo, which, I mean, was fair enough. But I took the chance to ask how the dog is doing, if the dog has food and water, and they pointed to the house across the street and they said, yes, that's where the dog lives. And I said, ¿Por qué es todos los días en la calle? Why is the dog all the days in the street? And they said, well, because the house is very small and
casa pequeña, no lo puedo tener dentro de mi casa.
They prefer to be on the street sometimes. But for me, it's very interesting to consider this dog on the street with his little shirt hung on a hanger on the side. To me, it might indicate that even the most vulnerable members of society in a place like Havana have some kind of protection or some kind of people around them who care. From the outside, it might not look like the best life just laying on the street. But maybe the dog has food and water and friends around who will give him a shirt to wear when it's cold and hang the shirt on the side when it's not too cold. Or maybe it's just a random dog and I'm reading too much into this. I don't know. But it caught my attention. Now let's keep walking. In any case, Havana is a city of great contrast. I mean, it's kind of a cliche. You can say that about a lot of cities, you know, there's new buildings, there's old buildings. But Havana has one of the greatest contrasts I've ever seen. And the area I'm staying in over here, well, it's less well off than the area to the other side of Old Havana. This area, it seems like, might have been hit by an earthquake or something in recent years. Because you see a lot of buildings like the one behind me, half in ruin. I'm not sure exactly what happened. As I continued to walk, I came across this game of dominoes that was being played on a table in the middle of the street.
Esto no vale, Roel, vale.
¿Cuántos pies? Okay.
Juega cualquiera, Roel.
No.
Fíjate lo que él hable, él no entiende. No.
Okay, okay.
Cinco.
Single.
One.
Nada.
Five. Now.
Nada.
Ayúdalo.
La liga, la otra liga es más.
Ese cobra todo, ese la liga de
Ahí,
Nada.
no hay una vida.
Dejen este niño que gane, por
Lo bueno.
Dejen lo que gane, para que él haga.
Ah, yes.
Al revés, niño.
Ahí.
Enseñamos.
vamos a entrar de
Enseña, para cogerlo por los pelos, eso.
Juega, muchachos. Juega,
Mira, no, tú no lleves. No lo lleves tan recio.
I've seen those guys playing dominoes for 2 days now. And I've always wanted to have the courage to stop and ask for a photo, but I always just kept walking. But this time I couldn't resist. And next thing you know, they were asking me, do I know how to play dominoes? Do we have dominoes in Canada? And I told them, we have dominoes in Canada, but in Canada we play in the house, not on the streets.
Dominó en la casa. Juegan en la casa, en la calle no.
They said, do you know how to play dominoes? And I said, no, my grandma, she knows how to play dominoes, which is true. She always loved dominoes. Cuban people are really cool, man. It's hard to explain, but there's just an energy to this place that you feel right away. And I think part of it is the fact that the internet connection in Cuba is almost non-existent. And with that means, well, people spend more time, like kids spend more time together playing baseball in the streets. The adults spend more time outside, you know, listening to music, drinking together, and of course playing dominoes. And you want to be careful not to romanticize these things too much, because as I've come to realize over the last few days, there is a downside to not having internet, of course, like in terms of education and opportunities. There's a lot that your population loses when you're not well connected. Even new books and stuff are kind of hard to arrive in Cuba because of the embargo and the trade situation. But all of that aside, like political nonsense aside, it's clear that the spirit of Cuba is alive and well in the streets of Old Havana. Anyway, what I'm about to show you, this is Plaza Vieja, the old plaza. And it's very different than the streets I just walked through. This is the beginning of the better preserved and, well, more elegant side of Old Havana. The colorful buildings that you've probably seen before in so many pictures. Some kind of song performance happening in front of me. I've never seen this here before. Almost appears to be like half of a dance and half of a martial arts routine. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, just look at some of the architecture behind me here. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm taking you down a walking street now that's gonna end at one of the most famous pieces of architecture in Havana, the Capitol building. Actually, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's peeking over this alley right now, and it looks pretty incredible. when you see pictures of Havana, especially in this Instagram age that we live in, when everyone wants the perfect backdrop for their pictures, you tend to see more buildings like this, like brightly painted and looking fresh. And there definitely are buildings like that in Havana. But there are just as many that look like, you know, the ones to my left, a little bit in need of a fresh paint job and a bit of love. But that is Havana, you know, a city of extremes. Now as I make it towards one of the streets, you start to see more of the classic Cuban cars. Or not Cuban cars, but classic cars within Cuba. And that's one of the things that for me makes Havana so interesting to walk around as a tourist. It's the capital of one of the most famous communist countries. And yet you're seeing, you know, bits of capitalism start to creep into society, I would say. Anyway, enough about all that, because we now have the epic Capitolio, the Capitol building, in front of us.
We won't be running away.
Okay, no
Are you
problem.
making a vlog?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Nice.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1. Nice. One more.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do you,
Good trip.
do you want one?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I have. Thank you. Bye. I was about to end my video and then I got asked by some tourists to take a picture for them. It's funny, people see me with my big camera and they assume I'm a good photographer. Joke's on them, I'm a terrible photographer. But as I was about to say to end this video, this too is Cuba. The beautiful buildings like the Capitol building behind me, the beautiful avenues, the lights that light up at night. You know, this too is Cuba. Everything from the dominoes game with the locals who are just enjoying their evening outside, inviting me to play, from the street food to the 5-star restaurants, to the dog that's wearing a t-shirt for some reason. To the classic cars from the 50s who honk as they drive by. To everything. The lack of internet, everything that makes Cuba what it is. The country that went against the grain and just did their own thing. Some would say for better, some would say for worse. I'm not gonna dare touch that subject in this video, but I will say that Havana remains a very unique city and a great city to walk around and explore. In my next video, I'm gonna try and share something very special with you guys, because I had the opportunity to meet up with a local Cuban and get to see what life is like far away from old Havana. Another side of Cuba, completely different than this. It was an eye-opening experience, and it's what I'm gonna show you in my next video. But until then, as I try not to trip over any cracks in the sidewalk or get hit by any classic cars, I'm gonna leave you with a few shots of Havana around sundown. As always, guys, I'm Dan for The New Travel. I'll see you next time.